Okay, this is a big one. So, news out of the KHL from yesterday, we had ourselves one of the best players of all time. You talk about the Djokovic's, you talk about the Medvedevs, you talk about the Novaks. This is one of the GOATs, and his name is Federer. Fedorov. Wrong sport, my bad. But today we are talking about a legend in his own right, one of the players that pretty much defined the late 90s, early 2000s for the Detroit Red Wings and eventually the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim, as well as the Columbus Blue Jackets. Sergei Fedorov is one of the most talented hockey players to have ever played the game. He doesn't play tennis, or at least not to my knowledge, but we had some big news out of the KHL because Sergei Fedorov is officially a free agent. Take a look at this. Sergei Fedorov, the past few years, has been the head coach of CSKA Moscow in the KHL. But with 2 Gagarin Cups in 3 seasons, the Sergei Fedorov era has officially come to an end via the KHL Twitter account. Sergei Fedorov will not return as CSKA's head coach next season, and CSKA has now named Ilya Vorobyov as the team's new head coach. There also was another post made on the KHL Twitter asking, hey, what's next for the most successful coach in CSKA history in the KHL era? 3 seasons of Sergei Fedorov as CSKA head coach saw 2 straight championships in his first 2 seasons, but this season didn't have the same outcome. First-round exit for CSKA Moscow, and Fedorov is out shortly after the fact. Now, I can't really seem to get any clarity as to what's going on, as to whether or not, it's straight up, he got fired, he's getting the can, they didn't want him anymore, first-round exit, unacceptable, whatever. I don't think it's that. From the way all of this language is being tossed out there, it seems a lot like Fedorov is not gonna come back based off of his own decision. I'm not too sure how exactly it's going over there. If anybody who knows a lot more about the Russian media scene wants to come out there in the comments and let me know what's going on, then hey, feel free to do that. But the reason I'm making this video is because when it comes to Sergei Fedorov, there already have been a few links to him and other NHL teams over the past little while. In particular, we made one video about the Columbus Blue Jackets. This was about a year ago, and we talked about how there was a link, there were rumors saying, Fedorov could come back to Columbus, and I say back because he did don the sweater of CBJ once upon a time. But I'm making this video about the Red Wings as well, because when it comes to the replies, there's a lot of people going out there saying, Sergei Fedorov, he's a free agent, and he was pretty good. He had 2 championships back-to-back in his opening 2 years with CSKA. He probably knows what he's doing. And it's a lot of Red Wings fans and a lot of Blue Jackets fans contributing to the conversation saying, we want this guy. But here's the thing. There is a little bit of a hiccup. And even though there are so many Red Wings fans replying to all the KHL tweets saying, hey, Stevie Y, get your guy back, get your guy, this should be your guy, fire the lawn and hire Fedorov. There are some extra problems that could arise from that, which is why I wanted to make this video here. So let's talk about Columbus first and foremost, because they have the easier path for a guy like Fedorov to come back into the NHL capacity as a head coach, because when it comes to them, they've been really bad this year. I think a lot of people in Ohio are talking about Pascal Vincent and whether or not he's the right guy and some of the crazy decisions he has made over the past year and a bit in regards to which players to play, etc., etc. I mean, even disregarding the Mike Babcock situation, there was always a very odd coaching sentiment in Columbus ever since Pascal Vincent started scratching certain guys, not playing others, and having this entire thing. So because there's already some sort of a dissatisfaction, you could say there's room to move around here, that maybe Vincent should have been out a while ago, and maybe a guy like Fedorov, who's looking to make his stamp in the NHL as a head coach, could come into Columbus and turn this team around. Who really knows? He does have some roots with the Blue Jackets, as we had said. He played a few of his final years in the NHL with CBJ, and he was pretty good too. He had 43 points in 62 games played in the season where he was traded over there. He had 42 points in 73 games played the next year, and then before getting sent over to Washington, he had 28 points in 50 games in 07-08. So he definitely has ties with Columbus, but when it comes to the Detroit Red Wings, this is the bigger conversation, because the Red Wings are a better team, you could say. They have more history, and they have a better history in particular with Fedorov. In fact, There was a big debate in the replies asking whether or not it would actually happen. But I will say, you had the Grindline folks go out there and dispute it. They said this: I know there are calls for Sergei to coach the Wings, but I don't think there's any world where the Ilitches would allow it. The reply says, I don't even need him as a head coach. Just get him on the staff and start talking to players somehow. But then the Grindline guys say, hey, I don't think he'd be allowed in the organization, because there still seems to be a grudge there. You also had the conversation brought up on the R Red Wings subreddit. There was a post about Fedorov, and you can see in the title, oh, wild speculation, Fedorov to the Red Wings, and a bunch of the replies, hey, I think the chances of this happening, less than 5%. If the Ilitches are not even going to retire his number, how are they going to hire him as a head coach? Now, there is a reply saying, I would imagine or hope that they've given full control over coaching staff hiring to Yzerman and his staff. If the Ilitches are the ones making those decisions, we're probably screwed. Maybe two birds with one stone. Not sure how Fedorov is as a coach, but luring him over by dangling a jersey retirement wouldn't be a bad way to do it. I get what you're trying to say, but I believe the saying is two birds stoned at once. Yeah, okay, that's kind of funny. Another reply says, yeah, I agree, it's a low probability move, but Mike Ilitch is dead. Maybe Chris will make amends if Steve truly thinks it'll help the team win. But then another reply says Chris only cares about making money. If he thinks a better coach equals playoff revenue, then he'll have no problems regardless of his dad's relationship. Now, if you're like me, and you don't really know what's going on, because look, I was born in the year 2000, I didn't become a hockey fan until 2011, by the time Fedorov was already back in the KHL, Mother State goes out there and asks, I've heard rumors about the business feud, you got any more links or specifics on the matter? I was so young when it happened, and I was just angry that Fedorov left. I think these are two different things. One was the contract holdout in 1997-1998, where Fedorov was offered a bunch of money by Carolina, who was owned by an Ilitch rival, Peter Karmanos. The other one was in 2003, where Fedorov was offered a 5-year, $50 million contract. He said he wanted more time to decide, and I think Mike was offended he didn't take it right away and rescinded the offer. I think Fedorov wanted to get out of his own and try to lead a team like Yzerman, and also wanted to be out in California where his girlfriend was, but taking the time to decide is what reportedly had the offer pulled. And if you check it out, he did end up going to the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim immediately after, even though he was a point-per-game player with the Red Wings and was one of the more versatile guys. I mean, Fedorov was also a defenseman at some point, and he was really good at it too. Like, he was one of these guys where it's like you see him play defense, it's like, whoa, that guy could win a Norris. But nah, he's a center, technically, so yeah, he was one of the weirdest players, I guess you could say, from an on-ice evaluation point of view, but he was so good, so talented, just one of the best players to ever play for the Red Wings, maxing out at a 120-point season in the 90s. So the fact that Fedorov had all this history and he was so good, and now he's a really good coach, being able to win multiple KHL championships, there is value here. And so when it comes to either the Red Wings or the Blue Jackets, if either of these two teams need a new head coach, Fedorov being in the driver's seat doesn't sound like a bad idea, just from an evaluation point of view, as well as a money-making point of view. Like, if you're Detroit, let's put aside the rivalry and the grudge and all that for now. Would it not be like the hottest topic in Motown if Fedorov came back as a coach? Yzerman up on top, you've got Chris Draper also there, you've got Fedorov behind the bench. Like, this could just be a reunion of legends of Red Wings past. But of course, they aren't the only team that I think could be talking about this amongst their fan base. Columbus could be in there as well. We had talked about that in the past. Also, it's a lot more likely, I would say, that if Fedorov does come to the NHL in some sort of a coaching capacity, he maybe goes to a team that has a little bit more opportunity like Columbus. It would make more sense in my mind for him to go there. Not even considering like the rivalry or anything, but like, there's a certain level of expectations that the Wings have right now as a team fighting for a postseason spot and kind of struggling to maintain their footing. You could debate Derek Lalonde should have been canned a little bit ago after the 7-game losing streak, but if the Wings decide to ride it out and there's a new guy that is hired, that new guy's going to have all the pressure on him in the world. I don't think many Wings fans are going to be happy with another year of meddling and barely making the wildcard race like they have been this year when you know that they're a lot more talented than what they've shown off. So is there room for a rookie NHL coach to make his way over to Motown? And if it is Sergei Fedorov, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you're a Blue Jackets fan, what are your thoughts on this entire idea? And should Pascal Vincent go to open up the door for a Fedorov to come in? Thoughts in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this video. And Bye.